Welcome back to Lovelife. We were just chatting in the break, and you guys made some good points, some interest that you have in gay marriage. That I know there was the protest recently. So if you want to talk about that and how that relates to this, I think that would be important.
I love seeing the progress that we're having here in Cayman, going towards the gay partnerships. Anyways, they've also said that they're not going to recognize, gay marriage, which is okay as long as they're still moving forward with that. It's hard to understand how maybe, if there's a gay Caymanian who wants to continue having a relationship with their partner and maybe who's getting rolled over or, out of a job at a time and can't claim that person as a dependent. It's hard for them to continue having a successful relationship or move on with their lives with those kind of restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was, the Leo Raznovich case was a landmark decision in terms of work permits in that sense. But the premier made a good point that the law specifically says what marriage is and how it's defined here in the Cayman Islands, and that was decided in the Constitution when it was drafted. It's based off of what it says in the Bible, but it also does have several different instances of marriage in the Bible. There's a lot of polygamy in the Bible. There's Deuteronomy says you can marry or you must marry your if a rapist rapes a virgin, they must marry them, but as long as they pay the father 50 shekels.
It's okay.
Those things are kind of glossed over in the Bible, and I think that's a little hypocritical, but it's going to be a struggle to balance what the Constitution says and what the people of these islands want with human rights issues. You as part of the UK, you can't discriminate against people for their sexuality, for example. So you're gonna have to balance that, and that's gonna be a tough job.
Certainly, it is a very difficult climate right now in regards to the controversy about that. And I think, if we're talking about how successful domestic partnerships and other types of relationships can be, it's at least a silver lining to say that, you don't have to focus on the legality in order to have a happy relationship with someone, but at the same time, it's a human right. And why do some people get it and some people don't? So there's a lot of things involved there. And I think sometimes when I talk to someone in therapy, I have to really help them focus on what they can control. Obviously, you can advocate and stand up, and it's really important to assert yourself, but at some point you have to accept sort of the plot of life. And if there is something that you cannot change, being able to look at a silver lining and really focus on what it is you can change. And I think that's the only way to feel like you have any kind of freedom in this circumstance. So if a homosexual couple, if they come to speak to me, I'm going to really focus on that with them, making sure that they know that if they're happy and they're healthy in their relationship, that's what's most important. And you know what? You can't control what other people think.
Yeah.
So we can only do what's right for us.
Yeah.
And the other side of this is also people who choose to stay single, that they don't actually want to be in any type of relationship. I know you're single, Todd, but do you feel that, you said you would be open to a relationship, but do you see that people are actually choosing to remain single throughout like a majority of their lives or longer than they used to?
Yeah, I think it's less of a taboo for, any person to be single, but women often are looked down upon by society if they're over 30 and they're single, and it's unfair. But like you said, they may be choosing that. Each person has their reasons, but you always have that fear of growing old alone, right? That's something that a lot of people, it's their motivation behind getting into a relationship. So some people force themselves into something that they may not be happy with for that reason. I don't think you can live life like that. I think you make yourself happy. You do, what brings a smile to your face every day, and let the cards fall where they may.
Yeah, a lot of people do end up forcing things or settling because they want that partnership. But I think you make a good point that it's important to find that happiness and contentment with yourself, really loving yourself and not sort of putting your life on hold in order to find that partner. Which I call that the tour guide syndrome. It's like you don't go on trips or you don't do this adventure because you're waiting for that partner to take you there.
Yeah.
But you can do it yourself, and I think it's really invigorating when you realize that you have that opportunity and that freedom, especially as a woman. I think people do sort of assume that after a certain age, all women are looking to settle down and have children, but some people aren't. And sometimes singlehood can be a wonderful thing and you can accomplish a lot. And you see also the very ambitious and successful women who are focused on careers, choosing to stay that way.
Or getting sorted, you know, I mean, you want to establish your career or become somebody before you even think about having a family or taking time off for that, or maybe just building or growing who you are. Maybe you're not ready for a relationship and to put all that commitment in, and maybe it takes, you know, being single for years to figure it out.
Yeah, and it probably is difficult as well if you have a relationship maybe to make those compromises, right? So I think a lot of times people end up sacrificing a lot about themselves rather than doing what makes them happy because they're prioritizing the relationship. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to each sort of choice, but I think being able to see someone who is single and not sort of judge them or degrade their choice. And some people don't even want children. So I think that's also a right that people have to choose.
Exactly.
Again, to each their own.
Right.
So do you think you want to have kids? I mean, we're two women at the table, so to speak.
You know, I grew up always saying I didn't want kids and that I don't want kids, and I would be completely okay with not having children. Something were to happen, who knows? I mean, as you get older, obviously, you start to feel like, oh, what a cute baby, as where before it's no interest. But I'm quite happy with being that, you know, couple that travels and, you know, call it the executive couple. People who just travel the world and enjoy life and don't have to hire babysitters or, you know, go home at a certain time because, you know, so it's a choice that everybody has to make. And, you know, life will give you what comes along and you take the punches as they come or, you know, grow and do things. But as I stand, I'm quite perfectly happy being the way that I am right now.
You can make plans for your life, and then life will come along and say, no, that's not what's going to happen.
Exactly.
But, you know, I think I grew up always wanting kids, and I've kind of gotten away from that because I have a beautiful niece and two nephews who I adore, and they are fantastic, and we have so much fun together. And then when they start to poop and cry, I can go, here, go back to your mom. I'm done with you now, and I can enjoy the good parts and not have to deal with the rest.
Well, maybe we'll get back to that, Todd, but for right now, we're going to have to take a break, so stay with us on Lovelife.